Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. Guys, we've obviously, this week's fight week, Amir Khan, Kell Brook. Who's going to win? Don't have a clue. I want to talk about a few things in this video. I want to bring my man Peter Lee. Peter, I see you in the comment section the other day. Peter Lee, he's been digging me out for quite a while, saying that I'm biased. And I want to give a shout out to you, Peter, because I saw your comment the other day on my channel and you said, I think you said something like, I want Brook to win, but, you know, Khan seems confident. And you said for the first time, you're actually being not biased and you're actually being fair and you're actually talking fairly. Peter, I wanted to say that thank you for your comment. I really appreciate it. And listen, I've got a lot of respect for all of you. I've said this on my, that's why I have a platform, and I even say we do live streams and I allow people to come on and give, even if they don't agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. What I will say is this though, is that I respect all of your guys' opinion. Like, some of you have commented on my channel and you disagree with me. You think Brook knocks Khan out. I have no problem. There is a possibility, and I've said it as well. I think Kell Brook may knock Amir Khan out, and he may have knocked Khan out in his prime. My opinion is just my opinion, really. There's no malice behind it. I'm an Amir Khan fan. I want Amir Khan to win this fight, but I will say this: that I've also said before that I think there's certain guys that would have beaten Amir Khan. So it's not like I'm biased. Like, I think Errol Spence would have beaten Amir Khan. I think like even Amir Khan in his prime would have lost to Terence Crawford. I think Keith Thurman would have been dangerous for Amir Khan. I think, you know, I would have favoured Thurman in that fight. Not to say Khan couldn't beat someone like Thurman. But the reason why I've made videos I feel like Amir Khan never ever gets the credit, in the sense that some people act like he's some kind of bum. For example, Peter, I saw you say that Errol Spence would knock Khan out in 3 rounds. But Peter, Canelo couldn't knock Khan out in 3 rounds. Terence Crawford against a washed up Amir Khan couldn't wipe him out in 3 rounds. I think Errol Spence would have beaten Amir Khan, no doubt about it. In my mind, I would have picked Errol Spence. Not to say that I think it was impossible for Khan to win, no. But I just feel like I think Amir Khan would outbox Errol Spence even easier, or he would do a much better job than Kell Brook was doing, in terms of he'd outbox Errol Spence. But Errol Spence is a bigger guy, stronger guy. He hits hard. He'd start, and he's a bigger man. He'd start wearing Amir Khan down, and I believe he would have probably stopped Amir Khan late in that fight. But to make out that that's not a competitive fight and Spence would have walked through him, let's not forget when Errol Spence fought Kell Brook, Errol Spence was never a world champion at that point. Errol Spence was a guy that was green. He hadn't even fought for a world title. So we're not talking about a prime, a guy that was confident he was a champion. He was coming to someone's backyard, right? And he had never been a champion. He had never faced anybody even on the level of Brook. So there was a lot of question marks around Errol Spence. That is he even that good? Is he a hype job? Is Kell Brook going to expose him? Is Kell Brook going to do what Calzaghe did to Lacey? These are the things that were being said at the time. But here's the point I'm trying to make, is that when I make my opinion, when I say that I genuinely feel that Amir Khan would have beaten Kell Brook in his prime, I'll give you my reasons for it. You don't have to agree with me. I might be wrong. It's just an opinion. But I'm not making that opinion because I'm biased. I'm making that opinion because I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe that. If I honestly thought Kell Brook would have beaten Amir Khan, I would say to you that I think Kell Brook would have beaten Amir Khan. Honestly, this is no, like I said, just said that Errol Spence beats Amir Khan. I think Miguel Cotto would have beaten Amir Khan. I think Keith Thurman would have beaten, because styles make fights. For me, certain styles make fights. Now, everybody sees things differently. That doesn't mean we're wrong, because who would have thought that Bradis Prescott would have beaten Amir Khan? Nobody would have thought that before the fight, right? How big an underdog was Prescott? How big an underdog was Garcia when Khan fought him? And the whole thing about sport is that upsets happen. You know, and Amir Khan and Kell Brook wouldn't have been an upset if Khan had beaten Brook. It was always a close fight. It was always, you know, neither guy, like, Brook wasn't levels above Khan, was he? Certainly from his CV, you couldn't make that up, could you? Brook was a bigger man. He was a stronger man. But here's what I've been over the years that, look, Brook could have won this fight in his prime, and now he can win this fight, And actually, the logical choice right now would be Kell Brook. He's bigger, he's stronger, he punches harder. There's a good chance that, really logic. That's why the bookies have made him a favorite, because logic favors him. Logic favors him at this point. And actually, the crazy thing is, in their primes, Amir was a favorite according to the bookies. The bookies had Amir Khan a favorite. When Kell Brook beat Sean Porter, the bookies had Amir Khan favorite to outpoint and beat Kell Brook. This is no, I'm not making this up. This is the truth. See, this is what I'm saying. Everybody has their own opinion. That doesn't mean my opinion's right. That doesn't mean your opinion. I respect your opinion, Peter. All the other guys. There's an SF2X Plus. You as well. I respect your opinion. If you think that's entitled, you're entitled to your opinion. But you need to also respect other people's opinion when they also think that Khan could have won the fight. I'm not saying that, like, in your head, you perceive that there's no way Khan could have won the fight. But everyone has their difference of opinion. Not everybody that thinks that Khan would have won in their primes is biased. Because if I'm biased, I would be saying Khan beats Thurman, Khan beats Spence, Khan beats Miguel Cotto. I would have said he beats all of them, but I don't. I break things down logically. I look at things logically. And maybe I underestimated Kell Brook, and the reason why is probably because he never really fought anybody of any high level. Like his level of competition was fairly poor, so it was hard for me to judge him. It was hard for me to really know how good he was. Maybe the guy was exceptional, but it was a very poorly managed career, which we didn't really find out how good he was in his prime. Kell Brook for me was in a bit of a difficult spot, because Kell Brook for me was too small for 154 pounds, but he was too big for 147 pounds. He struggled to make the weight, and his life outside didn't help him making 147 pounds. But Amir Khan and Kell Brook would always have been a good fight. It would have always been a good fight, irrespective of who you think would have won. I honestly, like, if Amir Khan loses this weekend, I'm going to be heartbroken, because I know what this fight means to me, because over the years I've been a massive Amir Khan fan, and I know what this fight means. So I'm going to be able to sleep for probably a week if he loses. And maybe you guys that, like Peter, you may not be able to sleep if Brook loses this fight for a week. Because you like Brook, I like Khan, but we all have our differences of opinion. But honestly, when I make my opinion, it's not biased. It's genuinely what I think. I might be wrong. Like, it's just an opinion. It's just how I see it. I might be wrong. I might be totally wrong. I might be totally off. But, it's disappointing. And here's the one thing I will say, is that Amir hurt his legacy, in the sense that he never fought Brook in his prime, and it was him that could have made that fight. And even if he beats Brook, and this is why I feel like Amir's got nothing to gain. If he beats Brook, people are going to say, well, Brook was shot. And if Brook beats him, people will say, oh, well, Brook would have always beat. Like, he doesn't got anything to gain. Amir Khan's got nothing to gain. And yet he's had an amazing career. I feel like he doesn't ever get much credit, to be honest. He does, like, people say, well, he's got a glass chin, he can't take a punch, he's this, that. People almost treat Amir like he was a bum. Like, I'll be honest, sometimes I listen to certain fans, and I listen to certain people talk about him, and they just treat him like he was some kind of bum. They don't even realize that this guy was the youngest Olympian to medal for Great Britain at the age of 17. No one's ever done that. I believe he was the youngest unified champion at 22. I don't think anyone's done that. He beat 11 former world champions. No one in the last 20, 30 years in British boxing has beaten that many former world champions. But people say, oh, he beat these guys that are washed up. We beat these guys that are washed up. Well, nobody talks about Kell Brook beat Lovemore and who was washed up. But yeah, everybody wants to talk about Khan beating Zab Judah, who was past his prime. But yeah, Zab Judah was a world champion who had just beaten Lucas Matisse. But everybody wants to diminish Khan. I don't understand it. I don't feel like Khan gets any credit. I'll be honest with you. Like, here's the thing. I'll take that back. I saw Tunde Ajayi yesterday say, well, Khan does get credit from people within boxing. And maybe I give people that speak negatively about Khan too much attention, and I shouldn't. But that's the truth. I feel like I see a lot of negative comments all the time. Someone said to me yesterday, Imran, unfortunately, the world that we live in, people always tend to criticize rather than praise. That's just how the world works. And I agree. But I've always feel like I've been fair. I don't think I've ever... Look, I don't have anything against Kell Brook. I think he's a good fighter. He's had a good career. He's won a world championship. I just give you my opinion that I've been frustrated over the years because a lot of Brook fans feel that Amir Khan has ruined Kell Brook's career. You're responsible for your own career. No one's responsible for your career. Amir Khan's not responsible for Kell's career. Kell is responsible for his career. Here's the problem, and I've had a back and forth with SF2X Plus. You said to me that, Imran, Kell Brook had to take the Golovkin fight. He had no choice because he needed to secure his financial future. I disagree. Because the Jesse Vargas fight, yeah, it wouldn't have paid him 4 million. It might have paid him £700,000-800,000, but he would have become a unified champion. Sometimes you have to take the short end of the stick for what it could potentially bring. Imagine if Kell Brook had become a unified champion in the welterweight division where Mayweather and Pacquiao are around. Kell Brook may have got a Manny Pacquiao fight. He would have definitely got an Amir Khan fight. Because Amir Khan would have chased that fight then. Because he would have been like, he's a unified champion now. If he goes on to become undisputed or something. But Kell Brook took the money. For me, he should have never have fought Gennady Golovkin. He should have fought Jesse Vargas. See, that was the opportunity. When Kell Brook fan says Kell never got the opportunity, that was the opportunity there. Let's not forget, guys. Let's not forget the Jesse Vargas fight was there for him. He turned that down and took the Golovkin fight. You guys never ever bring that up. You always avoid that. Kell Brook turned down the Jesse Vargas fight to take the Golovkin fight because it was more money. He knew he wasn't going to win that fight. Just like Amir knew he wasn't going to beat Canelo. It was very difficult. I give Amir more chance of beating Canelo than I gave Brook beating Golovkin. And Amir troubled Canelo early on in that fight. More so than Brook, because the way Brook was fighting, that fight was only going to end one way. He was fighting toe-to-toe with a bigger man. It was only going to end one way. So when I say stuff, not because I'm against Brook, I'm against Brook. I'm frustrated with how, because we didn't really get to find out how good Kell Brook was. That irritates me as a fight fan, that I never got to find out how good somebody was. Because Kell Brook's team or him or whoever made poor moves. They should have never have fought Golovkin, irrespective of the money. It's not like Kell Brook was making no money. He must have been earning. He was a world champion. And if fighting Jesse Vargas for a unified title, yeah, it may have not been crazy money. I'm pretty sure it would have been near $1 million. And then imagine, what you got to realize, sometimes you invest in yourself and imagine what he could have made off. Imagine a Kell Brook Pacquiao fight. How big would that have been? I'm pretty sure we would have got more money than Golovkin anywhere, whether he fought in the States or fought in the UK. Because Pacquiao was a bigger name than Golovkin. Because Pacquiao, guess what? Jesse Vargas didn't fight Kell Brook. You know who he fought? Guess what? Manny Pacquiao. That's who he fought. Kell could have got that Manny Pacquiao fight. And Eddie Hernan had a good relationship with Bob Arum. I'm telling you, I think Kell Brook would have got the Manny Pacquiao fight. And he would have got more money to fight Manny. I'm serious. And if he hadn't got the Pacquiao fight, he would have got the Khan fight. Because Amir Khan would have thought in his head that Kell Brook's now become a unified champion. He's undefeated. He's just beaten Jesse Vargas. He's beaten Sean Porter. You know, Amir Khan would start, thinking that this guy might actually get ahead of me here. I need to fight him. So the chances of Amir Khan fighting Kell Brook would have increased. I think Amir Khan probably would have fought Kell Brook then. But Kell Brook didn't think of it that. He thought of it short term. And that's what hurt his career. Jesse Vargas' fight was there. That is such a sorry state of affairs. And Jesse Vargas was a fight that Kell Brook would have been favourite. I would have picked him to win that. And that's where the frustration lies for me. Because I feel like Kell Brook could have had so many opportunities if he had taken that Jesse Vargas fight. Because let's not forget, Jesse Vargas wouldn't have damaged Brook like that. Kell Brook probably would have... I don't think he would have stopped Vargas, but I think he would have won a points decision against Jesse Vargas. especially at home, because the fight was going to take place in the UK. And then after that, Kell Brook probably would have got a Manny Pacquiao fight. I'm telling you guys, he probably would have got a Manny Pacquiao fight. Kell Brook really, really hurt himself by taking that Golovkin fight. I don't think some of you guys realize the opportunities that would have presented himself if he had fought Jesse Vargas. And let's not make that fight wasn't going to happen. It could have happened. It just meant that Kell Brook would have got paid a bit less. But it's about investing in yourself. It's about holding two straps. Fighting Golovkin, yeah, made him 4 million or whatever his highest payday, but it ruined his career. It ruined his career, which probably could have been far greater, and we would have actually got to find out how good he was. Kell Brook was a world champion. He could have become a unified champion. I just don't... I get, like, money is something... Like, money can ruin a lot of people, you know, in the sense that, you know, it's the greed. Because somebody says to you, you're going to get 4 million. Eddie Hearn said to Kell Brook, you're going to get 4 million. Whereas you're going to get 800 or 900 grand for Vargas. Because Kell Brook didn't look at the bigger picture. He just thought now and then, now and now. And that hurt him. And you guys, Peter, SF2, you guys know as well that hurt him. That really probably should have taken the Jesse Vargas fight. That really hurt Kell Brook's career, in my opinion. If he'd taken that fight, become a unified champion, all the opportunities would have presented himself. All the Khan fight, the Pacquiao fight, all of these fights would have presented itself for Kell Brook. Because of when you're a unified champion, you hold a lot of aces. His name in boxing would have gone from here to there. He's a unified champion in the welterweight division, which has Mayweather, Pacquiao, Thurman, Khan, Errol Spence, Porter, you know. I know Errol wasn't that big a name back then. He was a guy coming through, but this is where Brook could have been. And for me, that was an opportunity missed for Kell Brook. Imagine being a unified welterweight champion, being undefeated as well. Kell Brook would have been in such a great position, man. Such a great position. He for me, he really hurt his career with that Golovkin fight. And I actually don't think he needed to take that fight. Like, we don't know. None of us really know his financial... But Kell Brook was a biggish name by that point. He was making decent money. And the Vargas fight wouldn't have been poor money. It wouldn't have been nowhere near the Golovkin fight. But that's obvious. Vargas isn't as big a name as Golovkin. That's obvious. But imagine if... But I'm telling you, the Pacquiao fight would have been bigger than the Golovkin fight. The Pacquiao fight could have probably sold at Wembley. And he would have got more money fighting Pacquiao in the States, most likely, as well. Because Pacquiao was a huge star at that point. And doing some serious numbers. That would have been a pay-per-view fight. And I'm telling you, Brook Pacquiao on pay-per-view probably would have done big numbers. If they could have got that fight in the UK, which they probably might have not. They might have done, who knows. But Kell Brook would have been a unified world champion at welterweight. You know, that was Kell Brook's opportunity missed. In terms of this fight, I don't know. I'm going to be brutally honest. I don't know who wins. Like I said, the logical answer would be, like I was speaking to my dad yesterday. And my dad said, you know, Brook gave Golovkin some issues. He hit him with some big shots. And power doesn't really leave you. You know, he said, I know Golovkin shrugged it off, but Golovkin's just got a granite chin. If those shots had hit Khan, you know, you'd have to say he falls over. That's what my dad was saying. And my dad's also one that thought Khan will be too fast for Brook in his prime. But my dad looks at it and says, you know, Khan looked terrible. He didn't look good against Billy Dib. He didn't look good, you know, against Crawford. He looks past his best. You know, Brook's still going to have some power. Like, my dad was like, you know, it looks like Brook will most likely win this. You know, that's what the logic says. But at this point, I don't know whether logic can be applied to this, because we just don't know what either guy has left. We don't know how the weight's going to affect Brook. We don't know how the eye sockets are going to affect Brook. We don't know whether Amir Khan's got his speed. We don't know anything. We literally don't anything. We're going into this fight blind. That's why people are generally saying we don't know who's going to win, because nobody really knows deep down. Yeah, like if I was to come here and say, I know Amir Khan's definitely going to win this fight, I'd be lying. If you come here and you say Kell Brook's going to win this fight, it's because that's who you want to win. Same with if you say that about Khan, because nobody really knows. Nobody knows who wins the fight. You can't say, like, for example, Josh Taylor's fighting Cattrall. 95% of us think that 99.99% of us think that Josh Taylor's going to win that fight. Because we know that Taylor's levels above Cattrall. But with this Kell Brook situation, we just don't know where they're at. We just don't know where they're at. And for me, it's such an intriguing matchup. It's such an intriguing fight. I just hope both guys get some credit. Whoever wins, you know, get some credit. Both of them get credit. Both of them have good careers. And I wish both of them all the best. I ain't got anything against Kell Brook. Yeah, I'm an Amir Khan fan. I want him to win. But I ain't got anything against Brook. Have you ever seen me talking ill of Kell Brook about his personal? No, I haven't got anything against him. He's a good fighter. I just give you my honest opinion. But anyway, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think. It's a big fight week. I'm nervous. If Amir Khan loses, I probably won't sleep for a week. If Kell Brook loses, some of his fans may not sleep for a week. That's just how it is, man. That's just how it is. I haven't got anything against Brook at all. I think Brook's a really good fighter. I think he's done really well. And I've got some serious criticism over the years from certain fans about, you know, being biased. I honestly give you my opinion. If you see my other videos as well, I only need to give my opinion. That's it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not, you know, I might be right. I might be wrong. You know, I thought Amir Khan would easily beat Danny Garcia. I was wrong. When Amir Khan fought Marcus Maidana, I thought Maidana might beat him. I was wrong. You know, when Kell Brook fought Errol Spence, I thought Errol Spence would beat him. I was right. You know? I even predicted Kell Brook to beat Terence Crawford. I said that I think Kell Brook might beat Terence Crawford. I just looked at Kell Brook's size and I thought the punch, but I thought he may beat him. I was wrong. That's just life, man. That's just sometimes you make a prediction. It's not always going to be right. It's just an opinion at the end of the day. It's just an opinion. You know, I ain't got nothing against Brook. I actually think he's a good fighter, just a bit of a wasted talent. You know, could have achieved a lot more. I feel like certain decisions were wrong, but that's just life. Sometimes things don't work out. Many boxers that had a lot of talent that don't necessarily reach their full potential because they make the wrong decisions, they make the wrong career moves. And Kell Brook's an example of that. You know, Amir Khan's an example of that. Amir Khan could have achieved a lot more as well. Amir Khan, it's just that Amir Khan achieved like a lot more than Kell Brook. He beat better fighters. His resume is stacked. Amir Khan's CV is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, by the way. Kotelnik, Zab Judah, Devin Alexander, Julio Diaz. Nobody ever talks about that win. Julio Diaz was coming off a draw against Sean Porter. His next fight was against Amir Khan, and Amir Khan beat him. That's Kell's best win. But nobody ever talks about that. Algieri, Lamont Peterson. I thought he beat Lamont Peterson. Then he got like this CV's ridiculous. Nobody ever talks about it. I feel like that's ignored. Amir Khan's CV is ignored. Nobody even talks about how many fighters he's been in the ring with. I'm not saying he beat anybody of elite level, of a Mayweather level, but how many fighters do? But his CV is ridiculous. Back to back, back to back. Doesn't seem to get any credit for that CV. It's an incredible. How many British fighters do you guys know that have that kind of CV? Amir Khan's got a ridiculous CV of wins. Oh, that guy. But then people just set the bar so high for Amir Khan. Oh, that was. But if you think he's got no chin and he's no good, then why even a guy, someone like Judah, who wasn't in his prime, but he beat Lucas Matisse in his previous fight. If he beat Lucas Matisse, why couldn't he beat Amir Khan? And Amir Khan totally dominated that fight. 2 years later, Zab Judah fought Danny Garcia, and that was a close fight. It went the distance. Yet Amir Khan stopped Zab Judah 2 years earlier. But yet, nobody talks about these things. I just, yeah, it is what it is. It's just, these are just my opinions, you know. There's no hard feelings towards anybody. You know, I respect all of you. I respect all of your opinions. I respect everybody's opinion. It's just an opinion at the end of the day. And I'm pretty sure some of you will disagree with certain things I've said in this video. But I'd love to know your opinions anyway, guys. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.